All right. So this is a gun that I own. You'll definitely notice by the quality of my videos that there is no gun manufacturer out there being like, "Whew, I want this guy to review this." So it's definitely a gun that I own. I purchased one of the very early builds that they did. I would say what drew me to Masterpiece Arms is just the fact that it happened to be at my local gun shop. I had messed around with STI before they had swapped their name over to Staccato. Found those guns to be incredibly accurate, incredibly consistent in my hands, and just far easier to shoot. And they happen to get a couple of these MPA DS9s into my local gun store. I handled it and slept on it. Did some research on Masterpiece Arms. This is very, very early for them to step into this world. So how it happened is they primarily make, seems like chassis for rifles and things of that nature, more in the rifle world than they are in the pistol world. I think they acquired a company, and then I believe the gunsmith who was already working there, he might have actually owned it. I'm not quite sure. Don't have that entire backstory, but he still is very much hands-on involved in that company. The gentleman who owns MPA isn't necessarily huge into the world of pistols. He's more in that rifle space from the conversations that I've had with him. And the world of pistols is a little bit new, but I guess he saw an opportunity and purchased someone who was, trying to make or had made a few 2011s. I don't think they had made anything yet. But this is a very, very early one. I think I'm dragging on. So this is build number 310, I do believe. And there are a lot of quality control issues on this personal one that I'd like to talk about. And I'd like to talk about my experience primarily with dealing with Masterpiece Arms, because it was so enjoyable. So it was very frustrating to, get this firearm. It shot very, very well. But when I originally got it, the problems I was running into is originally it was shipped with actual MPA mags. I think they have switched over to MBX, and they actually sent me these MBX mags, which I appreciate. Because these would load up to about 5 to 8 rounds, maybe 10, and then what you would end up getting is you would have nosedive, and that would be the end of your fun. So what you ended up with, out of the box, you ended up with a 2011 that was more like owning a 1911, because you could only load it with about 8 rounds. So that's definitely a frustrating experience, as you can imagine. And then it did not make any difference as far as accuracy from what I could tell, but the actual rifling of the bull barrel also had some of the grooving in there is just messed up. Don't really know how that happened. It's very interesting, but the actual rifling of this barrel was messed up when I initially got it. So they ended up, there've been a few things replaced. The barrel is one. We'll start on that. That ended up getting replaced. Like I said, I can't tell any difference as far as accuracy. It's the most accurate gun that I've ever owned. I've shot some staccatos and things like that that shoot very, very accurately as well. But as far as things I've actually owned, this is by far the most accurate thing that I've ever owned. So the barrel was replaced. The next thing is the finish on the safety here. Was actually like tarnished. And so that was replaced as well. And then when they sent out the MBX mags, I got they've changed their actual grip. So the grip that I got was so early that it was not compatible with the MBX mags, but it was not working with, or wasn't compatible with MBX and wasn't working with the MPA mags that they shipped with it. So they ended up having me send this back in. They put on a different handle. So I think what you would actually, if you went and purchased a DS9 now, this is the same handle you would get. They do have a few different options. You can actually choose different colorings, which I think is pretty cool. They've got a few different coloring options on there if you want your gun to be a little bit more distinct than just kind of the casual black that you've got here. But you can definitely have it ordered this way as well. And these magazines nosedive still. They said to load these up and leave them sitting, and that the springs would wear in. They said that the spring wasn't worn in enough. I've had it sitting with ammo for months on end. Neither of the MPA magazines that was originally shipped with the gun function, and I actually think it's kind of the opposite. I think the magazine is worn out or too soft, essentially. And so what you're getting is, as it is driving that bullet home and it's trying to ramp, is that you're getting too much dive and it will jam before it goes into battery with the actual MBX mags. So they're both more or less useless. I do think, my theory, I would actually like to test it, is that it needs a heavier spring. I know Atlas Gunworks actually ships their guns with a heavier spring, and you can go online. I'm pretty sure you can go through the Atlas website and you can actually purchase a heavier spring. So it's not high on my list, but I am really curious about putting a heavier duty spring in here and seeing if they run successfully. And then it would also be nice because I would have extra magazines that actually work and can be loaded with more than 8 rounds, which would be nice. So the safety was replaced, the handle itself was replaced, and the barrel was replaced. That is all that got replaced, and that's the only thing I've had issue with. As far as reliability, now that the gun has been sent in and sent back to me, is 100%. I don't have any failure to feed, failure to extract the rounds, nothing. And I didn't have those problems when these weren't loaded up, but you did get the nosedive anytime you had over about 8 rounds. So I think that's worth notating, and I bring this up just because there are so many companies out there that are doing, we hear lifetime warranty so often, and me personally, when I hear lifetime warranty, I kind of just think bullshit, because it's just kind of absurd. But my experience is that MBX was really eager to fix any issues that I was experiencing with the gun. And they're just really, really easy to deal with. Owner himself actually called me when I sent in an email, spoke to me for a little bit, and was just a really enjoyable experience. Enjoyed talking to him and getting to learn a little bit more as far as his background in manufacturing. Their specialty is really working with metal. So what you do have is there are a lot of 2011 manufacturers out there, and I'm not me shitting on any of the other manufacturers by any means, but what you end up with is a gun that's almost all in-house for the most part. So the handles are made in-house. All that machining work is done there, and then they're hand-fitted, and the gun ends up coming with the tag around it will say who actually hand-fitted your gun, which is kind of it gives you some theater, which when you're spending almost $3,000, theater is always appreciated, at least for me personally. And then now I will talk about my shooting experience with it currently. So I can do about a 2-inch group, 1-inch group on a really good day, 3-inch group on average as far as at 7 yards. I'm not any kind of phenomenal shot. I get my ass kicked on a regular basis when it comes to shooting, but that's what I'm capable of with this particular gun. And I can shoot a target a little bit smaller than the bag that it comes in. I can easily get hits at 25 yards. Essentially, it would be the size of this if you just cut this bit off. So this bit here, I can easily land 25-yard shots, which is with the iron sights. I personally don't like using iron sights. I'm a big fan of running a red dot or something like that, especially when you're just talking about range use. Ultimately, when you're shooting on range, reliability doesn't matter. No one's going out and carrying a Masterpiece Arms DS9. Well, I don't want to say no one. There might be someone out there. But I would say the vast majority of people purchasing this firearm or interested in purchasing this firearm are not thinking about carrying it. So for me, that's really, really good. It's, you know, something that I just very much enjoy shooting. That straight back pull of the 2011 is just really, really hard to beat. The gun is clear. There's no magazine, no round. And you can see a very distinct wall, which is right there. It's a very, very short and very easy to find. And then you have the break. And then from there, you have a very, very short take up with a distinct click, and you're back on the wall. And now I am going to show off the trigger pull. This is a Wheeler Engineering digital trigger gauge, and we will do a 5-pull average. That was 2 pounds, 10 ounces dead on. And I am going to be actually cocking it with the slide. So if you just pull the hammer back, you are going to get a slightly lighter by about 2 ounces or so as far as the trigger pull is concerned. I could not tell you why that is. You would have to talk to a gunsmith, but it's a real thing. That was 2 pounds, 8.5 ounces. That was 2 pounds, 7.2 ounces. £2, 8.8 ounces. And that was 2 pounds, 4.8 ounces. I was doing that pull in a different placement. That gives us an average of 2 pounds, 7.8 ounces. So they claim 2.5 pounds. So we are getting basically 2.5 pounds dead. And that's based off of an average pull of 5 shots. I will say that the vast majority of the time when I do a 5-pull average, I'm seeing 2 pounds, 10 ounces or a hair under. So this particular time, it is breaking a little bit lighter than I'm used to seeing it break. Thought I would notate that. And again, this gun has gone through full break-in. It's around 5,000 to 8,000 rounds. I will show you the wear and tear that I'm experiencing. There's no wear and tear on any of the body whatsoever, inside or outside. I am seeing some DLC coating that's wearing away on the barrel. And you can see it, not sure if you can make that out on the camera or not, but you can see it on the barrel as well as over here on the barrel as well. So you are seeing a little bit of that DLC coating starting to wear off, and I can't say that bothers me. The barrel lockup, I think these would be called lugs, I would say are getting a decent amount of wear and tear. Where that DLC is coming off, but I think we're actually getting some true break-in on those barrel lugs. I am not a gunsmith. I'm pretty sure that's what they're called, is barrel lugs. There's a little bit of break-in going on there. And again, I do have 8,000 rounds, but I do think that those would be worn away to the point where you reached around 35 to 50,000 rounds if you are going to be shooting competition and doing that much. I do think you're going to run into replacing the barrel. Like I said, I've personally dealt with warranty stuff on the MPA DS9, and they're outstanding to deal with. They are second to none in that department from my personal experience. But I do want to note the things that I'm seeing on it and make you aware. But I would love it if I had an outdoor range and kind of show you what this can do. The only place that I can really take shooting videos at an indoor range, there's going to be a lot of other stuff going on. So I've just stuck with doing this follow-up review with a tabletop review. I'm very, very impressed, very satisfied with this purchase. And I think as far as the price is concerned, there's probably nothing else worth buying because, well, I don't know, that's a toss-up. I think the staccatos are really nice as well. I have shot a few of those. The gun that I would really actually look into considering over something like the MPA DS9 would probably be a Bull Armory. They have a pretty wide range of firearms, anywhere from, a 2011 double stack 1911 set up to be a carry gun. I've seen a lot of videos on it. It runs really, really reliably, and it will probably outshoot just about everything out there as far as carry guns are concerned. With the only thing that might bring something to the table to compete would be probably staccato. I do think it's nice that with the background of Masterpiece Arms is that they are very good at dealing with metal. So what you get is a lot more in-house than you're used to seeing. Let's take Atlas Gunworks, for example. So Atlas Gunworks, they're getting it's a KKM barrel, I believe is what they run. And then there's just a lot more outsourcing going on as far as where those materials are sourced from. And don't for a second think that I am putting Atlas Gunworks down. They actually make my Dream 2011. My Dream pistol, period, is made by Atlas Gunworks. And hopefully one of these days I will be able to purchase one and kind of give you a head-to-head. Give you that comparison between something that sets you back $3,000 and something that sets you back $6,300. And kind of give you an idea if I notice, if there's a noticeable difference, something that I can perceive. Of course, I'm by no means, I'm not the expert, so, take everything I say with a grain of salt. I just shoot for pure pleasure. I don't even compete in any kind of way. I'll compete on like Tuesday night matches at my local indoor range, but that's nothing like Steel Challenge or something like that. I would like to step into that and do a little bit more of it. I think the only other things I'd like to talk about is you do get some of that, you always watch reviews of 2011s and they're just talking about how how smooth the slide is compared to what else is out there, like striker fired firearms or just about anything. It is phenomenally smooth. I will say this is not the smoothest 2011 I have felt. I would say it's probably the least smooth I felt, honestly. I would say Bull Armory there's absolutely no catch, so you can just right there, you're going to get a little bit of catch. It's not much. You will not notice it while you shoot or anything like that, unless you have more discerning hands than me. I don't notice it when I shoot, and certainly don't have any reliability issues out of this firearm whatsoever. So it's just something, if you, it still has that really, really just incredibly smooth. You have to really slow it down and know where that catch is to be able to distinguish it as not having as smooth. But I've handled Bull Armory firearms, they're 2011s. None of what I've handled from them, I've handled two. It was the like Commander series 4¼ inch barrel. None of them have that catch, so they have engineered that out. And I've handled some staccatos. They also don't have that little catch, but I am talking about something really, really minute. And I think this is, as far as, you know, the staccato and the bull armory are going to have plastic grips, which a plastic grip does have its own advantage. I will say I prefer the staccato grips. The bull armory grip, to me, feels like when you step inside of like a cheap rental car and it has that scratchy black plastic everywhere. The grip on a bull armory reminds me of that personally, and the staccato just doesn't. That staccato plastic feels a lot higher quality. I'm not shitting on bull armory. I very much want that's like the TAC ultralight with a comp. I think I'm probably going to end up purchasing one of those one day. It's not on my list anytime soon, because I would really like to try an Atlas Gunworks 2011 and compare those head to head. And but I do think it's really phenomenal that you can get this and have a gun that there's so much being done in-house, from the grip to the slide, hand-fitted, and you are getting true performance as far as what I've experienced with it. The only other thing I will note is that this safety doesn't work whatsoever. It does not have to be compressed to fire. It's pretty common. It's pretty common to have these pinned from the factory. You'll see Atlas Gunworks will pin them. Infinity pins their grips. Personally, I think that's totally fine. I like having that pinned grip, and it doesn't bother me that this doesn't work, but I thought I would notate it for you, the viewer, because it's not something that stands out to me. I'm sure they would address it if I wanted them to, but I just don't care. I'm not going to send it in so they can address something I don't care about. But I do think this gun is incredibly beautiful. It's incredibly accurate. The slide to frame fit is phenomenal. There's almost no up and down play whatsoever, and there's just a hair of up and down and just a hair of left and right. It's, you know, a fractional amount of play. I will say that the barrel lockup is going to be more important than the actual slide to frame fit, and there's a hair of play. I'm going to be honest, whenever I handle anyone else's, you know, when I've handled staccato or bull armory, I have never seen how much play is inside the barrel, so I don't have anything to compare it to. You can get absolutely incredible grips. I am definitely the factor that holds this back. I can get about a 1 to 2 inch group at 7 yards, and then I can get about a 4 to 6 inch group at 25 yards, and that has, you know, nothing to do with me. If I sit this on a bag, I can get about a 3 inch grouping with the iron sights. I'd probably be able to do a lot better with running a red dot. This is capable. You just unscrew here, and then you take this up. I think there's one more screw in. You'll unscrew there, and then you have a plate that plops on here. They do sell co-witness through Masterpiece Arms, which I like. I enjoy a co-witness setup more so than not having that. And I do think eventually, I'm thinking about some of probably a Delta Point Pro 2.5 MOA is what I'm going to end up putting on this. I really like how clear the glass is. It's a really wide view. The Delta Point Pro is a very heavy optic to sit on there. And I'm kind of curious if that runs into... as far as if you know, basically what you run into, the negative of putting that Delta Point on there, and Delta Point Pro, and it being heavier, is that they've taken time to, you know, reduce weight. As far as that's what these cuts are about. They're reducing that weight, and these cuts here are reducing weight of the slide, and that less reciprocating mass that you have, you're gonna have a little bit less muzzle rise. And probably more importantly, you're going to have less of that slam back effect where you can shoot some guns and you get that dive. You're wanting to engineer that dive out as much as possible. Obviously, you're still going to have to grip the gun and have some level of control, but they're going to make it as easy as possible, and that's the point of reducing that any of the reciprocating mass. The point of cutting that out is to make that easier. So when you plop something like a Delta Point Pro on here versus, say a Hollow Sun, I use a lot of Hollow Sun, they are considerably lighter. So when you plop that Delta Point on there, you're kind of taking away some of the advantage of lightening the slide in the first place. And that's kind of unfortunate, but I do really like 2.5 MOA dots. I can't quite stomach the pain of an SRO. I think $600 is a little bit. They have the really, really crisp dot even when you turn that brightness up. And I do have astigmatism, so the Delta Point Pro is going to have a little bit more of that bursting experience if you turn it up. But as long as you're on the right brightness setting for the Delta Point, not much of an issue. But really my concern is that weight, how much more flip I'm going to get or how much more dive I'm going to end up getting. I do like adding the weight to the back versus it should balance out a little bit better. This gun does balance really well, and it weighs in at about 2.5 pounds. That's about everything. I am going to be working on, I purchased a Tikka rifle chambered in 17, and I'm probably going to be modifying it. I've modified the trigger. I'm down to about 1 pound, 3 ounces, but I'm getting hammer follow. So if you're slamming that bolt forward, it will just slam fire basically. So definitely don't want that. It will not actually slam fire, but when you go to pull the trigger, it's dead. So I'm probably going to have to increase that weight, but I'm going to be changing out the chassis and probably covering that build and the differences that I experienced. And yeah, I appreciate any feedback you have, and hopefully this will help you out if you're considering purchasing something like an MPA DS9. Hopefully you gathered something from this. I appreciate you tuning in.